released to back to the gallery. New York Times bestselling author John Elder Robison spoke at Lincoln Sudbury Regional High School after the stabbing. He was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome at the age of 40 and wrote a book about all of it. Look Me in the Eye is the name of the book. John joins us now from Massachusetts. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on today.
Let's start first with your life. You're not diagnosed till age 40, so you're growing up with this. What was it like as a child growing up with this? Because in this case, we're dealing with someone who's still a child. What were those years like for you?
It was lonely. You know, I didn't know how to respond to the social cues of other children. I didn't know how to say what they expected. And I said the wrong things, and I did the wrong things, and that resulted in me being isolated and kind of ostracized and ridiculed. And I was sad a lot of that time.
And that's one thing I want to talk about is the, you know, being, I guess kids are teasing you, making fun of you, you're alone. Was there any resentment? Did that manifest itself into your feelings at all, or was it just sadness and loneliness?
Well, of course there's resentment, there's fear, there's anger, there's all those things. I guess the question is, you know, what do you do with them? In my life, I've achieved success by recognizing that the world doesn't owe me an accommodation. I have to learn to act in ways that will make me acceptable to the average man on the street, and by doing so I get along in society and I'm more comfortable.
And how are you able to do that? I mean, how do you, if you're unable to pick up on those cues, how do you I guess change the way you interact with people so everything tends to work out pretty well for you?
Once you have a sense of what you're missing, like for example, if you know that in an interaction with somebody, like with me and you, if I look at you and you're smiling at me, I can't tell if you're smiling because you really like me or you're smiling because you want to make me feel at ease so I will buy this thing that you have for sale. So once I began to understand the dynamic of what was happening, I was able to observe people closely and watch for cues I was missing, and I was able to train myself how to behave appropriately.
That's pretty amazing. Well, let me talk a bit about, was there an upside to having this? And I mean that in a sense that it I guess, focused you in other areas because you're isolated, because you're by yourself. You have to take that energy and the focus of your life and put it somewhere else. So did it somehow help you?
Well, I think it did. A lot of people with Asperger's are very smart about things that may be, let's say, non-human in nature. For example, people know me for making electronic games and toys, or for the guitars I made for Kiss. And that was made possible by being socially isolated. Other young people my age had girlfriends and had parties, and of course I would have loved to do that too if I could have, but I couldn't. And since I couldn't do that, I focused on the place I found success, which was electronics and technology. And by being isolated from other people, I spent all my time in that world of technology, and it really took me to the top of that world.
Tell me about what life is like today. No, before I get to that, I just have two questions for you because we're a little short on time here. First, I wanted to ask you about why you went to the high school. How was it that you ended up speaking at John Ogdren's high school after this incident?
I think that the school was concerned that since Asperger's was mentioned as a possible explanation for his behavior in this crime, that somebody like me be able to speak to the students and show them that Asperger's and autism are not predictors of dangerous violence in a person. You know, you might hear that a person with Asperger's is violent towards himself. He becomes frustrated, he bites himself or bangs his head against the wall. You hear that people with Asperger's can't understand the social signals from other people, but we need to be perfectly clear that just because I can't understand if your smile means you like me or you want to take advantage of me, I absolutely understand the consequences of attacking you and trying to kill you. I mean, I never had such a violent predisposition, nor do any other Asperger people I know.
Final question. For someone who had a difficult time socially interacting with people, what's it like now when you get all these calls to appear on shows like this and to speak in front of crowds and audiences? What is that like for you these days?
I guess I feel very proud that I'm able to give something back to the world. You know, I went out and I was lonely as a child. I became commercially successful because of my unusual abilities, and I'm just really proud to be able to stand here and show young people growing up that you can grow up as a geek and you can feel lonely and lost, but life gets better for us as we get older, and it can turn out okay.
Well, it looks like everything's turned out well for you, John. Thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Have a fantastic day.
Well, thank you.
Paul Ogdren took his son to a